Have you ever woken up from a dream so vivid, so real, that it took you a moment to remember where you were? What if I told you that this nightly journey into the bizarre and the beautiful is just a glitch in our sleeping brain, but the very engine that built our world? Today, we're diving deep into one of humanity's oldest mysteries, the dream, and we'll discover how this strange, internal world might just be the key to understanding who we are and how we got here. Our story doesn't begin in a modern bedroom or a sleep lab. It begins tens of thousands of years ago, in the deep, silent darkness of a cave. Imagine you're an early human. Your world is one of survival. Hunt, gather, avoid predators. Repeat. Life is immediate, tangible, and often brutal. But at night, something extraordinary happens. You close your eyes, and your mind is set free. You fly over the savannah. You talk to animals. You see shapes and colors that don't exist in your waking world. You dream. When you wake up, these images, these feelings, they linger. They're powerful, confusing, maybe even terrifying. You need to express them, to share them with your tribe. But you don't have a complex language yet. So what do? You find a piece of charcoal. You mix ochre with fat, and you paint. On the cold, stone walls of your cave, you bring your dreams to life. This is where things get fascinating. For a long time, archaeologists and historians believed that cave art was just a record of daily life, a simple depiction of a successful hunt, a catalog of local animals. But many scholars now believe it's something much more profound. They think it could be the world's first ever record of the human imagination at work, the first language of the mind. Look closely at these ancient paintings. Yes, there are bison, horses, and mammoths. But there are also strange, hybrid creatures, figures that are half human, half animal, mysterious, geometric symbols and patterns that don't correspond to anything in the natural world. Where did these images come from? They came from the same place our dreams come from, the boundless realm of the imagination. These early artists weren't just drawing what they saw. They were drawing what they felt and what they dreamt . The cave became a sacred canvas, a place where the inner world and the outer world could meet. It was a way to process fear, to celebrate success, and perhaps to try and understand the spiritual forces they believed governed their lives. These weren't just pictures. They were stories, myths, and prayers painted in stone. They were the first tangible evidence that humans could conceive of things that did not yet exist. This ability to imagine, to dream up new realities, is not just a quirky feature of our brains. It is our species' superpower. Think about it. Every single thing that defines human civilization started as an idea, an image in someone's mind. The first tool wasn't just a rock. It was the idea of a sharper rock, imagined before it was crafted. The first shelter wasn't just a pile of branches. It was the idea of a safe, warm space, visualized before it was built. Agriculture, which transformed us from nomadic wanderers into settled societies, began with an imaginative leap. Someone had to look at a wild plant, imagine a field of them, cultivated and harvested. They had to dream of a future with a stable food supply. A future different from the present they knew. This is the power of imagination. It allows us to see beyond what is, and to create what could be. And this process didn't stop in prehistory. Every great leap forward has been powered by this same force. The pyramids of Egypt, the aqueducts of Rome, the cathedrals of Europe, these weren't just feats of engineering. They were architectural dreams made real. They were born from the human capacity to envision structures grander and more complex than any that had come before. Let's jump forward in time. Think of Leonardo da Vinci. He sketched flying machines and diving suits centuries before they were technically possible. Was he a wizard? No. He was a master of imagination. He let his mind wander, unconstrained by the limits of his time, dreaming up possibilities that would inspire generations of inventors to come. His notebooks are like a modern-day KB wall filled with the dreams of a brilliant mind. This brings us to science. We often think of science as being purely logical, rational, and objective. And it is. But the spark of every scientific breakthrough is an act of imagination. Albert Einstein famously said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." His theories of relativity didn't come from just crunching numbers. They came from thought experiments, from imagining what it would be like to ride on a beam of light. He dreamt up a new way of seeing the universe, and then used mathematics to prove it. The same is true for art, music, and literature. What is a novel but a shared dream? A world constructed entirely from the author's imagination, which we can then enter through the pages of a book. What is a symphony but a dream made of sound? From the first stories told around a campfire to the sprawling cinematic universes we love today, we have always been a species obsessed with creating and sharing imagined worlds. Why? Because imagination does more than just help us invent things. It helps us connect. When we share a story, a dream, or an idea, we build a bridge between our minds. We create a shared culture, a collective understanding. The myths and legends painted on those cave walls unified the tribe. The laws and constitutions that govern our nations are built on the shared idea of a just society. Our entire civilization is a vast, intricate network of shared imaginations. It's the belief in things we can't see, like justice, money, and human rights, that holds it all together. So the next time you wake up from a strange dream, don't just dismiss it. Remember that the very act of dreaming connects you to a lineage stretching back tens of thousands of years. That bizarre, nonsensical movie your brain produced overnight is a product of the same creative engine that painted the first masterpieces on cave walls, that envisioned the first cities, and that continues to push the boundaries of what is possible. Our imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the workshop where reality is forged. It is our oldest and most powerful tool. It allowed our ancestors to survive, to thrive, and to build the world we now inhabit. And it is the same force that will allow us to solve the challenges of the future and to dream up the worlds of tomorrow. We are, and always have been, the dreaming species. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through time and the human mind. Today, we're journeying deep into the past, far beyond the pyramids, beyond the first cities, into the heart of the Paleolithic Eretha. Old Stone Age. We often think of our ancient ancestors as solely focused on survival, hunting mammoths and gathering berries. But what if I told you their inner lives, their spiritual worlds, were as rich and complex as our own? Let's dim the lights and step into the flickering firelight of a prehistoric cave. Imagine this. You're huddled deep inside the earth, the outside world. A distant memory. The only light comes from animal fat lamps, casting dancing shadows on the limestone walls. The air is thick with the smell of smoke and earth. Around you, the rhythmic beat of a drum begins, perhaps made from a stretched animal hide. A chant starts, low and guttural, rising and falling in hypnotic waves. This isn't just a gathering, it's a ritual, a deliberate journey into another state of consciousness. For decades, we viewed cave art as simple decoration or hunting magic. Paint a bison to ensure a successful hunt. But a more profound theory has emerged, one that connects these incredible paintings to altered states of consciousness, or trances. This is the neuropsychological model, proposed by scholars like David Lewis Williams. It suggests that our ancestors weren't just painting what they saw in the physical world, but what they experienced in their minds during these deep, trance-like states. So, how did they reach these states? They didn't have modern technology, but they had powerful tools. Sensory deprivation, for one. Spending hours or even days in the absolute darkness and silence of a deep cave system can profoundly alter your perception. The rhythmic, drumming, and chanting I mentioned. That's another key. The constant, repetitive sound can entrain brainwaves, guiding the mind into a trance. Vigorous dancing, fasting, and perhaps the use of naturally occurring psychoactive plants could also have played a role. It was a multi-sensory effort to peel back the layers of ordinary reality. And what did they find on the other side? This is where the art on the cave walls becomes a roadmap to the spirit world. Scholars have identified patterns in both cave art and the art of more recent shamanic cultures that seem to correspond to the universal stages of entering a trance. The first stage often involves seeing geometric patterns, dots, zigzags, grids, and swirling lines. These are called entoptic phenomena. Images generated by our own nervous system under certain kinds of stimulation. Sound familiar? Look closely at the art in caves like Lascaux or Siové. Alongside the majestic animals, you'll find fields of dots and strange grid-like symbols. These aren't random doodles. They might be the very first things the artists saw as their consciousness began to shift. As the trance deepens, the journey continues. The mind tries to make sense of these abstract shapes, to give them form. A curved line might start to look like the back of a bison. A zigzag could become the horns of an ibex. This is the second stage. The geometric shapes start to merge with culturally significant images stored in memory, and for a Paleolithic hunter, what was more significant than the powerful animals they lived alongside? Finally, the individual might feel as though they are passing through a vortex or tunnel, breaking through into another reality. This is stage 3, a full-blown immersive hallucination. Here, the person doesn't just see images. They enter a world populated by them. The animals on the walls are no longer just pictures. They are living, breathing spirit entities. The shaman, or ritual specialist, might feel they are interacting with these spirits, gaining knowledge, power, or healing abilities. This brings us to one of the most compelling themes in this ancient spiritual landscape: transformation. Look at the famous sorcerer figure from the Cave of Tourfrères in France. It has the antlers of a stag, the eyes of an owl, the paws of a bear, and the body of a human. This isn't a monster. It's a therianthrope, a being that is part human, part animal. These figures are found across the globe in rock art. They represent the shaman's ability to transcend their human form, to take on the qualities of an animal, the strength of the bear, the vision of the eagle, the speed of the horse. It's the ultimate act of merging with the natural and spiritual worlds. The shaman becomes a bridge, a go-between, by literally embodying both realms at once. And how does the shaman travel between these worlds? They fly. The sensation of flight or floating is another incredibly common experience reported by people in altered states of consciousness. This feeling of weightlessness, of soaring through the spirit realm, is a powerful and universal human experience. We see this reflected in the art. We find figures that seem to be floating or flying. We see an abundance of bird imagery and human figures with bird-like features. Birds have always been seen as messengers, creatures that can effortlessly move between the earth and the sky, the physical and the ethereal. For our ancestors, to fly was to become like a spirit, unbound by the laws of the physical world. Think about how these ideas, transformation and flight, have echoed through human culture for millennia. From ancient myths of gods changing into animals, to fairy tales of witches on broomsticks, to modern superhero stories of flying and shape-shifting. These core concepts have never left us. They speak to a deep-seated human desire to transcend our own limitations, to connect with something larger than ourselves, and to explore the vast, unseen territories of the mind and spirit. The cave, then, was not just a shelter. It was a womb, a portal. The rock face itself was a membrane, a veil between the world of the living and the world of spirit. The artists might have believed that the spirits of the animals lived within the rock. By tracing their outlines, by painting them with ochre and charcoal, they weren't just creating an image. They were touching, revealing, and interacting with the life force inside the stone. They were making the spirit world tangible. When we stand in awe of these 30,000-year-old masterpieces, we're not just looking at pictures of animals. We are bearing witness to the residue of a profound spiritual experience. We are seeing a map of the human soul, charted by our most ancient ancestors in the darkness of the earth. They were seeking connection, understanding, and their place within the cosmos, just as we are today. Their tools were different, but their quest was the same. The art they left behind is a timeless invitation for us to explore the mysteries of our own consciousness. Have you ever woken up from a dream that felt so real, so vivid, that it changed your entire day? What if you could actually program your dreams to solve your problems, heal your body, or even get advice from the divine? It sounds like science fiction, but for the ancient Egyptians, this was a spiritual technology they had mastered. This wasn't just about interpreting dreams. It was about actively creating them. This was the practice of dream incubation. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're journeying back thousands of years to the sun-baked sands of Egypt, to a time when dreams were seen as a direct line to the gods. Forget everything you think you know about dreams being random brain activity. The Egyptians believed dreams were portals, sacred spaces where the human world and the divine world could meet, and they built special places to make this happen. Imagine a place dedicated entirely to dreaming, a spiritual hospital where the prescription was a divinely inspired dream. These places were known as the houses of life, and perhaps the most famous of all was the temple complex at Abid, one of the oldest and most sacred cities in all of Egypt. Pilgrims would travel from across the kingdom, desperate for healing, for guidance, for a sign from the gods. They weren't coming for medicine in a bottle. They were coming for a cure delivered in a dream. So how did it work? It was a deeply ritualistic process. Upon arriving at a temple like the one at Abydos, a person wouldn't just go to sleep and hope for the best. First, they had to purify themselves. This involved ritual bathing, fasting, and making offerings to the gods. They would spend days praying, chanting, and focusing their mind on their specific problem, whether it was a physical ailment, a difficult decision, or a desire for a child. Their entire being had to be aligned with their intention, creating a powerful signal to the divine realm. Once they were deemed ready, they would be led to a special, secluded chamber within the temple grounds, sometimes called a dream dormitory. Here, surrounded by sacred inscriptions and the quiet hum of temple life, they would lie down on a simple mat and go to sleep. Their goal, to receive a message from the gods in their dreams. Priests, acting as spiritual guides, would often chant incantations to help guide the dreamer's soul on its nocturnal journey. They were essentially spiritual anesthesiologists, preparing the patient for a divine encounter. And who were the divine doctors they hoped to meet? Two of the most revered figures in this practice were Thoth and Im. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing, and magic, was considered the master of divine knowledge. A dream visitation from Thoth could reveal a hidden truth or grant a stroke of genius. He was the ultimate source of wisdom, and a message from him was considered gospel. Then there was Imhotep. Now Imhotep was a real historical figure, brilliant architect, physician, and vizier to King Djoser, who lived around 2600 BC. He was the genius behind the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, the world's first major stone building. His wisdom was so legendary that after his death, he was deified and became the god of medicine and healing. For a sick person undertaking dream incubation, a dream visit from Imhotep was the ultimate goal. They believed he could diagnose their illness and prescribe a cure directly in their dream, a divine house call from the greatest doctor in history. When the dreamer awoke, the first thing they did was report their dream to the temple priests. This is where the interpretation came in. The priests were master dream interpreters, skilled in the complex symbolism of the Egyptian subconscious. They would listen intently, analyzing every detail, the characters, the objects, the actions to decipher the god's message. Did you dream of a clear river? That might signify healing and purification. Did you dream of a boat? That could symbolize a journey or a transition. The prescribed cure might be a specific herbal remedy, a magical amulet to wear, or a particular ritual to perform. The dream provided the diagnosis, and the priests interpreted the prescription. But dream incubation wasn't just for the common person seeking healing. It was a tool used at the highest levels of power. Pharaohs, the living gods on earth, relied heavily on dreams to guide their rule. For a king, a dream wasn't just a personal matter. It was a matter of state. A powerful dream could legitimize their right to the throne, offer strategic advice for a battle, or prophesize the future of the kingdom. One of the most famous examples is the dream stele of Thutmose IV. The story goes that before he was pharaoh, the young prince fell asleep in the shadow of the great Sphinx at Giza, which was at the time buried up to its neck in sand. In his dream, the Sphinx itself spoke to him. It promised him the throne of Egypt if he would clear away the sand that had choked it for centuries. When Thutmose awoke, he did exactly as the dream commanded. He excavated the Sphinx, restoring it to its former glory, and just as the dream foretold, he became pharaoh. He then commissioned a massive granite slab, the dream stele, to be placed between the Sphinx espos, to tell this story for all eternity a permanent testament to the power of a divinely inspired dream. This tells us that for the Egyptians, the line between the dream world and the real world was incredibly thin. Dreams were not just echoes of the day. They were previews of the future, directives from the gods that could shape reality itself. They were a fundamental part of their religion, their medicine, and their politics. The practice of dream incubation wasn't unique to Egypt. It was also famously practiced by the ancient Greeks in the temples of Asclepius, their god of healing. But the Egyptians were arguably the pioneers, establishing a system that integrated spirituality, psychology, and medicine in a way that is truly profound. They understood that healing wasn't just about the body, but about the mind and spirit, and that the dream state was a powerful arena for all three to connect. So, the next time you have a powerful dream, take a moment to think about the ancient Egyptians. They wouldn't have dismissed it. They would have seen it as a message, a gift, a piece of a sacred puzzle. They teach us that our inner world is just as vast and important as the outer one, and that sometimes the answers we seek aren't out there, but deep within, waiting for us to fall asleep. Have you ever woken up from a dream that felt so real, you had to take a moment to realize it wasn't? What if I told you that ancient Indian philosophy suggests this very life, our waking reality, might be just another kind of dream? It's a mind-bending idea, but stick with me, and we'll explore one of the most profound concepts in human thought. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the wisdom of the Upanishads, some of the oldest spiritual texts known to humanity. Specifically, we're going to unpack their description of the four states of consciousness, the illusion of Maya, and how the practice of yoga is designed to help us wake up within this grand cosmic dream. The Mandukya Upanishad, one of the shortest yet most powerful of these texts, gives us a roadmap of our own consciousness. It describes 4 states, or padas, which means feet or quarters. Most of us are familiar with the first 2. The first state is called Vaishvanara. This is our normal, everyday waking consciousness. It's you, right now, watching this video, perceiving the world through your 5 senses. Your mind is turned outward, interacting with the physical objects and people around you. It's the state where we experience the gross, material world. We work, we eat, we talk, we live our daily lives here. In T state, we strongly identify with our physical body and our ego, the I that thinks it's separate from everything else. The second state is Tai. This is the dreaming state. When you fall asleep and your mind starts creating entire worlds, characters, and stories, you've entered Tai. Here, your consciousness is turned inward. The experiences are subtle, made not of physical matter, but of the mind's own impressions and memories. Dreams can feel incredibly real, can't they? We feel joy, fear, love, and loss, all while our physical body is lying still in bed. This state shows us that our mind is a powerful creator, capable of generating entire realities on its own. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. The third state is called Prajna. This is the state of deep, dreamless sleep. It's that period of the night where you're completely out. There are no dreams, no thoughts, no sensory experiences. It's a state of pure, undifferentiated consciousness, a blissful void. When you wake up from a night of deep sleep, you might say, I slept like a log, or I don't remember a thing. But the fact that you you slept deeply, means some part of your consciousness was aware, even in that seeming blackness. Prajna is a taste of unity, where the separation between you and the world dissolves into a state of quiet peace. It's a temporary merging back into the source. So we have the waking state, the dreaming state, and the deep sleep state. But the Upanishads say there is a 4th state, and this is the ultimate goal. It's called Turiya. The word Turiya literally just means the 4th. It's not another state asterisk like asterisk the other 3. Rather, it's the very foundation upon which the other 3 appear and disappear. Turiya is pure consciousness itself. It's the silent, unchanging witness that experiences waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Think of it like a movie screen. The waking world is one movie. Your dreams are another, and deep sleep is when the projector is off. But the screen Turiya is always there, unaffected by whatever is projected onto it. It is the real you, the Atman, the eternal self. Unlike the other three states, which come and go, Turiya is ever present. It's the light of awareness that's shining right now, allowing you to be conscious of these words. This brings us to the famous concept of Maya. If Turiya is the only true reality, then what is all this? This world? Our bodies? Our thoughts? The Upanishads call it Maya. Maya is often translated as illusion, but that can be misleading. It doesn't mean the world isn't real in a practical sense. If you stub your toe, the pain is real. A better way to understand Maya is as a cosmic dream or a magical display. It's the creative power of the universe that makes the one unified consciousness of Turiya appear as a world of many separate things. It's a veil of perception that makes us believe we are just our bodies and minds, separate from each other and from the universe. Just like in a dream, everything seems solid and independent, but it's all a projection of a single dreaming mind. In the same way, the philosophy of Advaita, which is based on the Upanishads, says this entire cosmos is a projection of one universal consciousness, which they call Brahman. And here's the kicker: your true self, the Atman or Turiya, is identical to Brahman. The phrase for this is Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. The individual consciousness is the universal consciousness. The drop is the ocean. We've just forgotten it because we are so caught up in the dream of Maya, the waking state. We are like dream characters who don't know they are part of a dreamer's mind. So, how do we wake up? If we're living in a kind of dream, is that a way to become lucid? To realize the nature of this reality while we're still in it? This is where yoga comes in. When most people in the West hear the word yoga, they think of physical postures, or asana. And while that is a part of it, it's only one small piece of a much larger system. Yogist is at its core a science for transforming consciousness. The word yoga itself means to yoke or to unite. The goal is to unite the individual consciousness, Atman, with the universal consciousness, Brahman. In other words, the goal of yoga is to experience Turiya, the fourth state, not just in deep meditation, but as the underlying reality of our waking life. How does it do this? Through various practices. The physical postures, or asanas, prepare the body. They make it strong and stable so you can sit for long periods of meditation without being distracted by physical discomfort. Pranayama, or breathing techniques, works on a subtler level. By controlling the breath, you begin to control the mind's energy, calming the constant stream of thoughts that keeps us trapped in the illusions of Maya. Then comes the core practice, dhyana, or meditation. In meditation, you train your mind to focus. You learn to observe your thoughts without getting carried away by them. You become the witness, the silent observer. As you practice this, you start to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your body. You are the awareness that is watching all of it. This is the process of disidentifying from the character in the dream and starting to identify with the dreamer itself. You are pulling back the veil of Maya, bit by bit. With consistent practice, flashes of Turiya can begin to break through into your waking life. You might experience moments of profound peace, a sense of deep connection to everything, a feeling that the boundaries between you and the world are dissolving. This isn't about escaping the world or denying it. It's about seeing it for what it is. A person who is awake in this sense, a liberated soul or a Jivan Mukta, still lives in the world. They still eat, work, and interact with others, but they do so with a fundamental shift in perspective. They see the divine play of consciousness in everything. They are in the dream, but they know they are dreaming. And because they know, they are free from the suffering, fear, and anxiety that comes from being lost in the illusion. They act from a place of love and wisdom, because they see themselves in everyone and everything. So, the four states of consciousness give us a map. Maya explains the nature of our predicament being lost in the cosmic dream, and yoga provides the practical tools to wake up. It's a journey from the limited ego to the infinite self, from the illusion of separation to the reality of unity. It's the journey to realize that you are not just a wave, tossed about on the surface of the ocean. You are the entire ocean. What do you think about this? Does it resonate with any experiences you've had? Let me know in the comments below. It's a deep topic, and I love hearing your perspectives. Or maybe a dream left you with a lingering feeling you couldn't shake all day. If so, you've tapped into a practice that's thousands of years old, a form of therapy that began not in a modern clinic, but in the serene temples of ancient Greece. Today, we're journeying back in time to explore the fascinating origins of psychology, long before it was even called psychology. We'll visit the dream-healing temples of Asclepius, dive into the mind of Plato and his world of perfect ideas, and see how Aristotle laid the very first bricks for the scientific study of the human mind. So, get comfortable, and let's unravel the ancient secrets of the psyche. Our story begins with a god, Asclepius, the Greek god of medicine. The ancient Greeks didn't just pray to him for physical healing. They sought his help for troubles of the mind and spirit. All across the ancient world, from Greece to modern-day Turkey, they built magnificent temple complexes called Asclepians. These weren't just places of worship. They were the world's first wellness centers. People would travel for days, sometimes weeks, on a pilgrimage to seek healing. When they arrived, they wouldn't just see a doctor. They would enter a holistic environment designed to soothe the soul. Picture this: beautiful architecture, serene gardens, libraries, theaters, and gymnasiums. The entire atmosphere was designed to bring a sense of peace and calm before the real therapy even began. The core of the healing process at an Asclepian was a ritual called incubation. After a period of purification, which might involve cleansing baths, a special diet, and making offerings, the patient would spend the night sleeping in a sacred dormitory called the abbot. The belief was that during their sleep, the god Asclepios himself, or his sacred serpents, would visit them in their dreams. These dreams were not just random nighttime wanderings of the mind. They were considered divine messages, prescriptions from the god. A dream might offer a direct cure, reveal the root cause of an ailment, or provide guidance on the next steps to take for both physical and mental well-being. The next morning, the patient would consult with a priest-physician. Their job was to interpret the dream. Think of them as the world's first dream therapists. They would listen intently to the patient's account of their nocturnal vision and help them decipher its symbolic meaning. For example, a dream about a snake shedding its skin might be interpreted as a symbol of renewal and recovery. A dream about crossing a river might signify overcoming a major life obstacle. This process wasn't just about finding a magical cure. It was about engaging the patient's own mind in their healing journey. It empowered them to find meaning in their suffering and gave them a clear, personalized path forward. This focus on dreams, symbolism, and personal interpretation is a powerful echo of what psychoanalysts like Carl Jung would explore thousands of years later. But the ancient Greek inquiry into the mind wasn't limited to the spiritual realm of temples. It was also a central focus for their greatest thinkers. Enter Plato, one of the most influential philosophers of all time. Plato was fascinated by the question, what is real? He proposed that the physical world we perceive with our senses is not the real world. Instead, it's just a shadow, a flawed copy of a higher, more perfect reality. He called this higher reality the world of forms, or world of ideas. In his realm, perfect, eternal, and unchanging concepts exist. There's a perfect form of a circle, a perfect form of justice, and a perfect form of beauty. Everything we see in our world is just an imperfect imitation of these pure forms. Now, how does this relate to psychology? Plato believed that our souls existed in this world of forms before we were born. Therefore, we have an innate, deep-seated knowledge of these perfect ideas. The process of learning, for Plato, isn't about discovering new information. It's a process of anamnesis, or recollection. It's about remembering the perfection our souls once knew. This idea has profound psychological implications. It suggests that deep within us, we have a blueprint for concepts like goodness, truth, and beauty. The inner turmoil and confusion we sometimes feel can be seen as a disconnection from these internal archetypes. Plato's philosophy encourages a journey inward, a quest to reconnect with these pure forms to find clarity and virtue. This concept of innate archetypal images deeply influenced later psychological theories, particularly Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious, which we'll explore in future videos. Following, Plato was his most brilliant student, Aristotle. While Plato looked to a world beyond our senses, Aristotle planted his feet firmly on the ground. He was a biologist and an empiricist at heart. He believed that knowledge comes from observation and experience. You could say that if Plato was the dreamer, Aristotle was the scientist. He wrote what many consider to be the very first textbook on psychology, a work titled De Anima, which translates to On the Soul. For Aristotle, the soul, or psyche, wasn't a mystical entity, separate from the body. It was the very essence of a living thing, the principle that animates it. He believed the soul and body were inseparable, just as the shape of a wax seal is inseparable from the wax itself. In De Anima, Aristotle systematically explored topics that are still central to psychology today. He wrote about the five senses, how we perceive the world, and how our minds process that information. He delved into the nature of memory, imagination, and, yes, dreams. Unlike the priests at the Asclepion, Aristotle didn't see dreams as divine messages. He saw them as a byproduct of our waking experiences, the lingering echoes of our daily thoughts and sensations. He analyzed emotions like anger, fear, and courage, not as divine punishments or virtues, but as complex psychophysical reactions. He was essentially trying to create a science of the mind, based on logic and observable evidence. This methodical, naturalistic approach to studying the human experience laid the essential groundwork for psychology to eventually become the scientific discipline we know today. So, from the dream temples of Asclepios, where healing was found in divine symbolism, to Plato's philosophical journey into a world of perfect ideas, and finally, to Aristotle's systematic analysis of the mind, Greeks gave us the foundational pillars of psychology. They were the first to ask the big questions. What is the nature of the mind? How do our thoughts and emotions work? And how can we achieve mental well-being? They showed us that understanding ourselves is one of the oldest and most noble human endeavors. Their insights, born from a blend of spirituality, philosophy, and early science, continue to resonate in the therapy rooms and research labs of the 21st century. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. It's truly amazing to see how these ancient ideas are still so relevant today. Have you ever woken up from a dream so vivid, so real, that it stuck with you all day? What if I told you that for ancient civilizations, dreams weren't just random brain activity, but divine messages, prophecies, and even blueprints for the future? Today, we're journeying back in time to the ancient Near East, specifically to Mesopotamia, Persia, and the world of the Hebrew Bible, to uncover how dreams shaped destinies, toppled empires, and wrote history itself. Forget everything you think you know about dreaming. We're about to decode the symbolic language of the gods. For the people of Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the dream world was a very real place. It was a bridge between the mortal realm and the divine. They believed that when you slept, your spirit, or asterisk Zach, could travel and receive messages directly from gods and goddesses. These weren't just fuzzy, half-remembered scenes. They were often direct and urgent communications. If a king dreamt of a great flood, it wasn't a metaphor for anxiety. It was a literal warning that he needed to prepare his city. One of the most famous Mesopotamian dreamers was Gudea, the ruler of Lagat. He had a powerful dream in which the god Ningirsu appeared to him. This wasn't a casual chat. The god gave him detailed instructions and entire architectural plan. Build a magnificent new temple. Gudea didn't just ponder the dream, he acted on Italiano. He consulted dream interpreters, gathered materials, and built the temple exactly as the vision dictated. His dream wasn't just personal, it was a state project, a divine command that defined his reign and shaped the physical landscape of his city. But not all dreams were so straightforward. Many were filled with bizarre symbols that required special expertise to understand. This gave rise to a whole class of professional dream interpreters. The asterisk, i.e., these were the original psychoanalysts, if you will, but their focus was on the divine, not the subconscious. They had vast collections of dream manuals, like ancient encyclopedias of symbols. For example, dreaming of a date palm might signify prosperity, while dreaming of a dog could mean different things depending on its color and actions. A white dog might be a good omen, but a black dog could signal danger. Every detail mattered, and interpreting a dream correctly could be a matter of life or death, especially for a king. Moving east into ancient Persia, the role of dreams became even more intertwined with imperial power and destiny. The Zoroastrian religion, which was prominent in the Persian Empire, viewed the world as a cosmic struggle between good, represented by Ahura Mazda, and evil, represented by Angra Mainyu. Dreams were a key battlefield in this spiritual war. A good, clear dream was seen as a gift from Ahura Mazda, offering guidance and reassurance. A confusing, terrifying nightmare, on the other hand, was a temptation or an attack from the forces of darkness. The story of the Persian Empire's founder, Cyrus the Great, is famously linked to a dream. According to the historian Herodotus, the Median king Astyages, Cyrus's grandfather, had a terrifying dream. He dreamt that his daughter gave birth to a vine that grew to cover all of Asia. His interpreters warned him that this meant his grandson would one day overthrow him and rule in his place. Terrified, Astyages ordered the infant Cyrus to be killed. But, as fate would have it, Cyrus survived. Years later, Astyages had another dream, reinforcing the prophecy. This dream-fueled paranoia ultimately led to the very events it predicted. Cyrus Roseup conquered the Median Empire and established the vast Persian Achaemenid Empire. The dream didn't just predict history, it set the entire chain of events in motion. It shows how, in the ancient mind, destiny wasn't a fixed path, but something actively shaped by divine communication and human reaction. Now, let's turn to the Hebrew Bible, where dreams are arguably at their most personal and dramatic. Here, dreams are the primary way God communicates with individuals, often choosing unlikely people to carry monumental messages. Think of Jacob's dream at Bethel. Fleeing from his brother, he falls asleep on a stone and dreams of a great ladder reaching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. In T's dream, God speaks to him directly, promising him land, descendants, and divine protection. This wasn't just a comforting vision, it was a covenant, a foundational promise that would define the identity of an entire people. The place itself becomes sacred because of the dream that occurred there. But the most famous dream interpreter in the Bible is, without a doubt, Joseph. His story is a masterclass in the power and peril of dreams. It starts with his own youthful dreams of his brothers and parents bowing down to him. These dreams, shared perhaps a bit too arrogantly, ignite the jealousy that leads to him being sold into slavery in Egypt. Here, his ability isn't a source of pride but a tool for survival. He's thrown into prison, where he correctly interprets the dreams of Pharaoh's butler and baker. This isn't just a party trick. It's a display of divine favor. His big moment comes when Pharaoh himself is tormented by two dreams, one of 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 skinny cows, and another of 7 healthy ears of grain being devoured by 7 thin ears. All of Egypt's wise men and magicians are stumped. But the butler remembers Joseph. Brought from the dungeon, Joseph doesn't claim credit for himself. He states clearly, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." He interprets the dreams as a prophecy of 7 years of incredible abundance, followed by 7 years of devastating famine. Because of this divinely inspired interpretation, Joseph is elevated from prisoner to second in command of all Egypt. He organizes the storage of grain, saving not only Egypt, but also his own family, the very brothers who sold him into slavery, fulfilling his childhood dreams in a way he never could have imagined. Joseph's story perfectly illustrates how dreams in the Bible are woven into the fabric of personal destiny and the grand narrative of salvation history. Across all these cultures, Mesopotamian, Persian, and Israelite, we see a common thread. Dreams were never just dreams. They were a vital, active part of reality. They were divine intelligence, strategic warnings, and personal roadmaps. For kings like Gudea and Cyrus, dreams dictated policy and shaped empires. For prophets and patriarchs like Jacob and Joseph, they were intimate conversations with God that altered the course of their lives and the destiny of their people. They believed the universe was communicating with them in their sleep, using a rich, symbolic language. To ignore a dream was to ignore the gods, to ignore fate itself. So the next time you wake from a powerful dream, take a moment. Think about these ancient civilizations. While we may look for psychological meaning, they saw the hand of the divine. They saw a world where the veil between heaven and earth was thin, and sleep was the doorway through which destiny walked. Have you ever had a dream that felt ancient? A dream filled with symbols that seemed to hold a meaning far older than yourself? You're not alone. What if I told you that across cultures, across continents, and across millennia, humanity shares a common dream language? This isn't science fiction. It's a profound idea from the brilliant psychologist Carl Jung. He called it the collective unconscious. Think of it like this. Beneath your personal memories and experiences, your personal unconscious lies a deeper shared layer of the human mind. It's a psychic inheritance, a collection of ancestral memories and experiences passed down through generations. It's the reason why certain stories, myths, and symbols resonate with us so deeply, no matter where we're from. Let's talk about some of these symbols. The serpent, for example. Why does this creature appear in myths and dreams all over the world? In ancient Egypt, it represented royalty and divine authority. In the Bible, it's a symbol of temptation. In Hinduism, the Kundalini energy is depicted as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine. It's a powerful, dual symbol of danger and poison, but also of healing, transformation, and wisdom. Think of the rod of Asclepius, the symbol of medicine today, a serpent wrapped around a staff. Jung would argue that the serpent archetype lives within our collective unconscious, representing this fundamental force of life, death, and rebirth. Then there's the tree of life. From the Norse Dressel, the great ash tree connecting the 9 worlds, to the Bodhi tree, under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. The tree is a universal symbol of connection, growth, and the axis of the world. It connects the underworld with its roots, the earth with its trunk, and the heavens with its branches. When you dream of a massive, ancient tree, you might be tapping into this shared human understanding of life's interconnectedness, of your own roots, and your potential for growth. And what about the sun? It's perhaps the most powerful archetype of all. Every single ancient civilization revered the sun. It's the source of light, warmth, and life itself. In our psyche, the sun often represents consciousness, enlightenment, the self, and divine power. Egyptian pharaohs called themselves son of Ara, the sun god. The Aztecs offered sacrifices to Huitzilopochtli, their sun deity. In our dreams, the rising sun can symbolize a new beginning or dawning awareness, while a setting sun might represent an ending or a descent into the unconscious. Jung believed these archetypes: the hero, the mother, the wise old man. The trickster are the fundamental building blocks of our psychic world. They are the characters in the universal stories we tell ourselves, both in our myths and in our dreams. The hero's journey, a pattern found in countless stories from Gilgamesh to Star Wars, is a perfect example. A hero is called to adventure, faces trials, and returns transformed. This isn't just a storytelling formula. Jung saw it as a map of psychological integration, the journey each of us must take to become whole. So, how did Jung come to this conclusion? It wasn't just abstract theory. He spent his life meticulously analyzing the dreams of his patients, studying world mythology, religion, and alchemy. He noticed the same symbolic patterns emerging again and again in people who had no conscious knowledge of these ancient myths. A modern person in Zurich might dream of a solar phallic serpent, a symbol straight out of ancient Mithraic rituals, without ever having heard of myth. For Jung, this was compelling evidence. It was as if the human psyche had a memory that stretched back to the dawn of our species. He argued that our modern, rational minds have become disconnected from this deep, symbolic wellspring of wisdom. We've dismissed myths as mere fairy tales and dreams as random brain activity. But in doing so, we've lost touch with a vital part of ourselves. The ancient truths aren't just historical curiosities. They are living realities within our own minds. Rediscovering them means rediscovering ourselves. Think about it. When you feel a deep, inexplicable connection to a piece of art, a myth, or a powerful dream, you might be experiencing a stirring in the collective unconscious. you're recognizing a pattern that has been part of the human experience for eons. It's a profound and humbling thought that inside your mind, you carry the echoes of every ancestor who ever lived, every story ever told, every dream ever dreamed. These symbols are not just relics. They are active and alive. They shape our perceptions, our emotions, and our behaviors in ways we rarely acknowledge. The archetypal shadow, for instance, represents the parts of ourselves we repress and deny. The anima or animus represents the inner feminine or masculine aspect within us. Engaging with these archetypes through dream analysis, art, or mythology is, in a Jungian sense, a path to wholeness, towaekayet, individuation. So, the next time you wake from a vivid dream, don't just dismiss it. Pay attention to the symbols. See the serpent not just as a snake, but as a force of transformation. See the tree not just as a plant, but as a symbol of your own connection to life. You might just find that your dreams are a gateway, a personal portal to the shared, ancient truths of humanity. You're not just dreaming for yourself, you're dreaming with all of us. Have you ever woken up from a dream so vivid, so real, that it left you wondering what it all meant? For centuries, we've looked to ancient texts, spiritual guides, and psychoanalysts to decipher the hidden messages in our dreams. But what if the key to unlocking these nightly mysteries lies not in ancient symbols, but within the very wiring of our brains? Welcome to the fascinating intersection of modern neuroscience and the age-old enigma of dreams. Today, we're re-embarking on a journey into the sleeping mind to ask a profound question. Are the symbols we see in our dreams fragments of a universal cosmic truth, or are they simply the unique language of our own neural architecture? For a long time, the dominant view, thanks to pioneers like Freud and Jung, was that dreams were the royal road to the unconscious. A fish might symbolize fertility. A journey might represent life itself. These symbols were seen as part of a collective unconscious, a shared library of archetypes that all of humanity could access. It's a beautiful, compelling idea that our dreams connect us to something larger than ourselves. But then, the age of technology dawned, bringing with it tools like fMRI and EEG scans. Suddenly, scientists could peek inside the dreaming brain in real time. And what they found was astonishing. During REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming occurs, certain parts of the brain light up like a Christmas tree. The amygdala, our emotional center, goes into overdrive. This explains why dreams can feel so emotionally intense. The fear, the joy, the anxiety, it's all being generated by a highly active emotional core. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for logic, rational thought, and self-awareness, is significantly dialed down. This is why dreams are so bizarre and nonsensical. We accept flying pigs and conversations with historical figures without question, because the part of our brain that would normally scream that's impossible is taking a nap. So, where do the symbols come from? Neuroscientists propose something called the activation synthesis hypothesis. The theory suggests that during REM sleep, our brainstem sends random electrical signals, or activations, up to the cortex. The cortex, our brain's storyteller, then does its best to weave these random signals into a coherent narrative. It pulls from our memories, our daily experiences, our hopes, and our fears to create a story. Think of it like this. Your brain is a brilliant but sleepy improv artist. The brainstem shouts out random words: doggo-shan, grandmother, flying. The cortex has to instantly create a scene. The result, a dream about your grandmother flying over the ocean on a giant dog. The symbols aren't preloaded with universal meaning. They are deeply personal, built from the unique building blocks of your own life. That ocean might be there because you watched a documentary about whales yesterday, or because you're feeling overwhelmed, a feeling you associate with vast, deep water. This brings us to a mind-bending idea. If dreams are constructed from our personal neural landscape, then decoding a dream isn't about looking up symbols in a dictionary. It's about understanding yourself. Your dream language is unique to you. The key is to explore what those images and feelings mean in the context of your own life. That recurring dream about being unprepared for an exam, might not be a prophecy of failure, but rather a reflection of your own internal feelings of anxiety or imposter syndrome in your waking life. Your brain is simply using a familiar high-stakes scenario from your past to represent a current emotional state. So, does this scientific explanation rob dreams of their magic? I don't think so. In fact, it might make them even more profound. It suggests that every night, we are given a personalized report from the deepest parts of our own minds. A story written in a language only we can truly understand. It's an intimate conversation with ourselves. This leads us to the grandest mystery of all. Consciousness. What is this I that experiences the dream? When you're dreaming, you feel like you are there, seeing, hearing, and feeling. Yet your body is motionless in bed. This separation of awareness from physical reality is one of the most powerful clues we have in the quest to understand consciousness itself. Some neuroscientists, like the renowned Anil Seth, argue that our waking reality is essentially a controlled hallucination. Our brain takes in sensory data from the outside world and makes its best guess about what is out there, creating the experience of reality for us. In this view, dreaming is simply what happens when that process is unconstrained by external sensory input. The brain is left to hallucinate freely, using its own internal data. Dreams show us that our experience of reality is a construction of the mind. They are a nightly reminder that the world we perceive is not a direct one-to-one photograph, but a rich, complex, and deeply personal painting created by our brain. So, are dream symbols neural architecture cosmic truth? The answer is likely a beautiful, intricate dance between the two. The symbols are born from the unique firing of your neurons, shaped by the architecture of your brain and your personal history. But the experience of dreaming, the existence of this inner world, points to the grand, cosmic mystery of consciousness, the final frontier of human understanding. By studying our dreams, we're not just interpreting strange nightly movies. We are exploring the very nature of our minds and our reality. We are becoming archaeologists of our own consciousness. So the next time you wake up from a peculiar dream, don't just dismiss it. Get curious. Ask yourself, what memories, what feelings, what experiences from my life could my brain be weaving together? You might not find a universal truth, but you might find something even more valuable. A deeper truth about yourself. Start with a gentle, thought-provoking tone. Have you ever woken from a dream so vivid, so real, that for a moment you weren't sure which reality was true? What if I told you that this very feeling holds a key to understanding not just ourselves, but the entire story of humanity? What if our waking world is, in its own way, a dream, a collective dream we are all dreaming into existence? It's a powerful idea, isn't it? That we are both the dreamers and the dreamed. This isn't just a poetic phrase. It points to something deep within our shared human experience. Think about it. Every great invention, every masterpiece of art, every city built, every law written it, all began as a flicker of an idea, a dream in someone's mind, a single thought, an imagined possibility that was nurtured, shared, and then, through collective effort, made real. Our history is a tapestry woven from these dreams. From the first hominid who imagined a tool sharper than a stone, to the engineers who dreamed of reaching the moon. These weren't just random events. They were the physical manifestations of an inner world. The story of humanity is the story of a dream becoming reality. But where do these dreams come from? It feels like they spring from an ancient, hidden source, a kind of code embedded not in our DNA, but in the very fabric of our consciousness. This ancient code is the blueprint for our potential. It's the impulse to create, to connect, to explore, and to understand our place in the universe. It's the voice that whispers to the artist, "What if you added this color?" And to the scientist, "What if you asked this question?" This code is universal. It transcends cultures, languages, and time. It's the reason why myths from opposite ends of the world share common themes: the hero's journey, the great flood, the creation of the world from chaos. These are not just stories. They are echoes of the fundamental patterns of our shared consciousness. the source code of our collective dream. We are all running the same fundamental software, just expressing it in beautifully unique ways. Consider the power of a shared dream. When a community dreams of a better future, they build schools. When a nation dreams of freedom, it sparks a revolution. When humanity dreams of connection, we create global networks that link billions of minds in an instant. These collective dreams are the most powerful forces on our planet. They shape civilizations. They move mountains. But here's the most exciting part. This isn't a passive process. We're not just characters in a pre-written story. We are the authors. We are the dreamers. Every day, with every thought we think and every action we take, we are writing the next chapter of this grand human story. What dream are you contributing to the world? Are you dreaming of compassion, of innovation, of understanding? Or are you caught in a nightmare of fear and division? The quality of our collective reality is a direct reflection of the quality of our individual dreams. This is a profound responsibility, but it's also an incredible gift. It means you have the power to change the world, simply by changing your mind, by choosing to focus on hope, by daring to imagine a better way. You are injecting that positive energy into the collective dream. You are upgrading the source code for everyone. Think about someone who inspires you, a leader, an artist, a teacher, a friend. What did they do? They held on to a dream with such conviction, such unwavering belief, that it became contagious. They dreamed so vividly that others could see it too, and they joined in to help make it real. That is the power we all possess. So, how do we become more conscious dreamers? It starts with looking inward. It starts with quieting the noise of the outside world and listening to that ancient code within your own mind. What is it telling you? What are the unique ideas, passions, and visions that only you can bring to life? Meditation, journaling, spending time in nature, engaging in creative hobbies, these aren't just for relaxation. They are powerful tools for accessing your inner world, for connecting with your personal slice of the universal dream. They help you to distinguish your own authentic desires from the narratives imposed upon you by society. When you connect with your own inner dreamer, you begin to see the world differently. You see challenges not as insurmountable obstacles, but as plot points in the story, opportunities for growth and creativity. You see other people not as strangers, but as fellow dreamers, each with their own unique and valuable contribution to the collective narrative. This perspective fosters empathy. If we are all part of the same dream, then your joy is my joy, and your suffering is my suffering. We are intrinsically connected. This realization is the antidote to the division and isolation that plague our modern world. It's the foundation for building a truly global community, a human family dreaming a shared future of peace and prosperity. The story of humanity is far from over. In fact, we may be at the most critical juncture yet. We face unprecedented global challenges, but we also possess unprecedented tools for connection and creation. Now, more than ever, the world needs conscious dreamers. It needs you. It needs your unique vision, your courage, your compassion. It needs you to wake up to the fact that you are not just a passive observer of reality, but an active creator of it. You are a living, breathing part of the mind of humanity. So I ask you again, what will you dream? Will you dream of healing our planet? Will you dream of bridging divides and fostering understanding? Will you dream of new forms of art, new scientific breakthroughs, new ways of living together that honor both our individuality and our shared humanity? The next time you look at the world around you, the buildings, the technology, the art, the systems, remember that it all started as a dream. It all flowed from that ancient code within the human mind. And then, remember that the same creative power resides within you, right now. You are the dreamer. The world is your canvas. Let's dream a beautiful story together.